EUMANS weekly meeting. Welcome everyone. Thanks to Charles and Sophia, who are going to be our interpreters, and thanks to Lorenzo and Roberto for help with the recording, and also welcoming the participants that will join the meeting. Let's start. Marco Cappato most likely will not join the meeting tonight, the other co-president. He has some unavoidable necessity, so it might not be with us, but I'm very excited for this meeting tonight, because it's an achievement for humans to welcome the Unconditional Basic Income team. We already have with us Klaus Sambor and Ulrike Sambor, and some other members of the Unconditional Basic Income European Citizen Initiative. For those of you who are joining for the first time, just a bit of contextualization for this meeting. As you know, HUMANS is a movement of popular and nonviolent initiative, and our goal is to enable European citizens. Oh, we have Marco Cappato as well. Our goal is to enable European citizens to activate participatory democracy instruments for the goals of sustainability, democracy, and fundamental rights. It's a membership-based organization. Since the 1st of November, the new associative year of HUMANS started, and so you can renew your membership or you can become a member for the first time. And in the past weeks, we started to discuss the strategy for HUMANS for 2023 and 2024. And the idea is to keep going to do what we did so far and do it better, and to try and create a people's program for the European elections. Not a traditional program that any political party can do, but try to connect different committees of European citizen initiatives, or set up committees for European citizen initiatives on one side to cover the needs that the European society has as a whole when it comes to social justice, environmental issues, and civil rights, to activate the European Citizen Initiative, which is the only instrument of participatory democracy effectively available for European citizens to transnationally try to propose reforms to the European Union. And through this process, we also want to pave the way for the European elections that will happen in 2024, to give the European Union and those that we will run for the elections a platform of content and proposals that are beyond the interest of the nation state. Of course, there are some topics that are already carried on by HUMANS, in particular the environmental issues and the carbon pricing proposal, which was already a European citizen initiative in 2020-21 promoted by HUMANS. We are working on a European citizen initiative on cannabis, and there are many other topics that are in progress. And during our weekly meeting, we try to discuss these topics. But the topic of the unconditional basic income originally wasn't in the objectives of HUMANS, but it's a collaboration and a cooperation that came out through the initiatives that we carried on in the past. In particular, when in 2021, we launched the EU Sign Day initiative, which aimed to promote the knowledge among European citizens of their right to sign and support European citizen initiatives. Through that process, we connected with the Unconditional Basic Income European Citizen Initiative Network, which were at the time promoting an ECI, a European Citizen Initiative, for the second time. And that initiative finished, but Klaus Sambor in particular joined HUMANS as a member. He also followed the works of our Congress in Warsaw last year, and he was our advocate within the UBI network to start and strengthen the cooperation with HUMANS on this specific goal. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to, on one side, to give the opportunity to the Unconditional Basic Income Network to present their goals, but also try to tell us how was their experience with the European Citizen Initiative they ran, but also to evaluate together, first of all, how the EUMANS membership and activists feel about the Unconditional Basic Income topic, how we could potentially cooperate on that in a more significant manner, particularly in this context of the People's Government Program for the European elections, ideally with a coordinated effort in launching more European citizen initiative at the same time, after a work of construction of networks, starting from our next Congress in Poland next year, and to have this collaborative process. I don't want to take too much time, unless, I don't know if Marco wants to say something. Otherwise, my idea was to leave first the floor to the Unconditional Basic Income Network to present their proposals, the experience of the ECI and the future that they see for their goal, and then to have as much time as possible for exploring, adding, giving our perspective to their work. I can anticipate that on the 7th of December, I am invited to the meeting of the UBI network to basically keep going this collaboration and to see what can be done. From a very practical note, I want to remember to all of you that are attending the meeting and those that are following on YouTube that EUMANS' next big moment is going to be on the 6th of December in Brussels. We are having an event specifically on the advancement and strengthening of democracy in the European Union, in particular on digital democracy, following up the work that we did over the summer for the recognition of the digital signatures for electoral list, but not only. On the same date, the 6th of December, EUMANS will also coordinate a citizen assembly on end-of-life decisions and palliative care. I'm very happy to tell you that besides the voluntarily participation in the transnational assembly, we will also have some sortition citizens, thanks to the collaboration with an organization called Agora Bruxelles that shared the initiative with the assembly with their network. So there will not only be people that have an interest and activism in end-of-life decisions and palliative care, but also, let's say, ordinary citizens living in Brussels taking part in the process. We are going to share the links in the chat. It's going to be mainly physical in Brussels. Of course, it's going to be live streamed, but it's very important as part of our efforts to promote and institutionalize citizen assemblies as a way of participation nationally for what we do in Italy, but also transnationally at the European level. Without much further ado, unless Marco wants to add something, or we start with Klaus, Ulrike Sambor, Angel Bravo from the UBI network. The floor is yours. I remind to everyone that we have the interpretation available. I thank Charles and Sofia from the School for Interpreters in Forlì. You can choose the language, you can listen in English or in Italian. Per gli italiani vi ricordo che c'è l'interpretazione, quindi nella barra sotto dello schermo potete scegliere la lingua in cui ascoltare e parlare e intervenire nella vostra lingua, cioè o in italiano o in inglese, non siamo ancora così avanzati. The floor to Klaus Sambor, EUMANS member and coordinator of the Unconditional Basic Income Network. Vai Klaus, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'm very happy that we have the opportunity to speak about our Unconditional Basic Income European Initiative, and in particular about the basics, what is a UBI. And we have proposed a paper which has 7 items, but I will only give an overview and ask after that, my wife to speak to some of these items, that we are not too long. And in addition, I want to say this paper will be sent as a reminder for our meeting on 7th of December, which was just mentioned by Virginia. There will be again the final discussion, and we can change and improve this paper. And after that, given it as a final paper to EUMANS. Yes, at the moment, it is not yet final. Yes, so, but nevertheless, I will give you the 7 headlines. The first one is, what is an emancipatory UBI? The second one, UBI, redistributive effects from rich to poor and middle classes, and significant reduction of social inequality. The third one is UBI, decoupling or separating of gainful employment and individual livelihood security. Then the number 4 is UBI, recognition, social positions and self-esteem independency of gainful employment. And 5, UBI, promoting employment of women. And 6, UBI, promoting democracy. And the last one is UBI, building block for a better world. And my wife will now read out only number 1 and 6 and 7, so that we have not too much time by presenting this first draft. And so if you agree, I would hand over to my wife.
Perfect. Ulrike Sambor.
Yes. The item 1 is, what is an emancipatory UBI? UBI, unconditional basic income, is a sum of money paid regularly, unconditionally and universally to all individuals high enough to ensure their material existence and participation in society. Therefore, the UBI has to ensure an income that is above the relative poverty line in the country. This level of UBI is to be checked with suitable reference budgets as basket of goods and services and others, with regard to the actual safeguarding of the sufficient means of income to ensure material existence and enable participation in society, if necessary, adjusted upwards. It ensures a dignified life for all and eliminate income poverty. Only if the UBI meets all these criteria, the UBI can develop its emancipatory power. We regard UBI as a human right, as one of means of realizing the human right to social security, regardless of whether people do something or not. Every human being has everywhere the same social right. UBI as a human right is not only sought in one country, in Europe, but worldwide. UBI is a step towards an emancipatory welfare system. The UBI doesn't replace public and social infrastructure and services as education, healthcare, energy, public transport, etc. On the contrary, the UBI goes hand in hand with the expansion and the democratization of universally accessible public and social infrastructure and services. UBI doesn't replace public social insurances, but make them poverty-proof and universal. UBI strengthens the power of laborers, employees, and their organizations because of strengthening of bargaining power. UBI strengthens the power of women because of independence, income, and social security for each woman. UBI is a step towards a society in which people are free and be able to live and work in cooperation with others. For example, in solidarity-based and sustainable communities and economies. this was item 1, and now I will go on with 6, UBI, promoting democracy. A democratic society needs people who are politically and democratically engaged. The UBI formed the economic basis for every human being to be active in a self-responsible and self-determined way, also in a political way. With an UBI, we can contribute to a better realization of democracy, and the power could come from the human beings because participation in society and more opportunities in terms of time and money would be promoted. So UBI is helping to reduce disenchantment with politics and enabling to get actively involved. And the last item, UBI, a building block for a better world. And UBI is a building block in the social ecological transformation process with the aim of creating a good life for all. It promotes democratic participation for all, reduction labor time, commitments in solidarity-based economies, so it pushes back alienated labor and consumerism. No one needs to be afraid of the necessary changes on the way to a society that is in harmony with nature, its protection and conservation. UBI must be embedded in social, educational, economical, and ecological policy measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulrike. Klaus, I guess you have more points and also some data on the initiative and so on, right?
Yes, we would say that we will give these papers, as I mentioned, to the meeting in 7th of December, because we had a meeting with Angel Bravo and Ali Mutlu and Ronald Plaschke, who is not able Ronald Plaschke is not able to participate today, but the other both should be available already, I hope. I have seen Angel Bravo, but not yet Ali Mutlu. I hope he can join the meeting. So from my point of view, I would say we will discuss how we can cooperate with EUMANS in this topic of CUBI, and that is what we want to say at the moment. And I would propose that if you have questions, then I would answer this question if possible, and if not, then we could go on in the agenda as you have proposed.
Okay, so first of all, I just want, before opening the floor for questions and comments from our network, I want to tell us that the Unconditional Basic Income European Citizen Initiative, which now is closed, the old one, collected almost 300,000 signatures. My question to the UBI team is if you can tell us a bit which countries were more successful in the collection of signatures, and also if you have any particular political success on the topic beyond the collection of signatures, but like what was your perspective while you were carrying on the initiative across the EU on the reception on the proposal, where we are within the European Union with this matter. We often know that a European citizen initiative somehow goes hand in hand with things that are happening in the EU. So maybe before opening the floor for Q&A, if you can give us these elements that I think are going to help us also to connect this topic with the initiatives of EUMANS, the strategy and everything. And then
yes, this was a part of Ali Mutlu. He has prepared a picture. So I don't know if he is already here. Can you ask?
I cannot see him, so we wait for Ali. we know it was 300,000 signatures, more or
Yes.
less, right?
Okay. So I can summarize very short, and if he can join our meeting, then he can make a nice picture. It is 4 countries have get the threshold which is necessary to be a successful UBI and ECI. And the second criteria was, you mentioned 1 million. And there we have only got 300,000, and we have not got 7 countries, which would be necessary, only 4. So in this respect, it was not really successful, but nevertheless, the network itself, which was about 25 countries for this UBI, ECI, has been established, and we have then created immediately this UBI, European Initiative Network. And this is where we want, as a self-standing body, cooperate with EUMANS and join EUMANS and with other groups and so on. So the efforts was not senseless. We have also get some support in the Conference of Europe. There was some discussions, and one of them was also considered unconditional basic income. And one of the main sentences in this report was that that would be a good idea to be introduced in Europe. Yes, that is one point. And we have afterwards seen in the communication with EUMAN that you have also said you want to also improve these things from the ECI going further to European referendums, but in order to be able to do so, you would have to change the treaties at the moment, because at the moment it is not possible and so on. So there is many has to be done to go on. We have also thought on a third attempt, because that what we have just mentioned was the second one. The first was 2013 and 2014. That was the first one. And then 2020, 2022, this was the second one. And in our meeting on 7th of September, one of our main points is continuation of the discussion regarding the planned third ECI, UBI signature collection campaign. And in that respect, we have the following situation. We have also in our meetings give us for a survey what should be changed by the ECI rules to be better for the organizers and so on. And we have given this, and the answer was all these inputs which they have got from the EU survey team will be analyzed until the end of 2023. So, and they have also said, and which of the proposals will come into force is not sure, and also not at which point in time. So our consideration was we should prepare very well the next attempt to make this ECI successful, and at first look if it is possible to get new ECI rules where we have proposed something, and therefore it would not be before 2023 starting, even longer possibly. But that would not be a disadvantage, because the network establishment could be then done very in quiet and can be very good prepared, so that then if we have the start, it must be a very big success from the beginning, with number of signatures and so on, and with cooperation with other bodies and so on. That would be a first reaction from my side. I hope that is answering your question.
Thank you, Klaus. I know that Marco is not, Marco Cappato, co-president of EUMANS, and then Ali Mutlu for expanding on what Klaus described. Vai, Marco.
A very quick question. Have you taken in consideration the possibility of accompanying the money part with the service part? So not have just a sum of money handed out, but to in some way link or vinculate part of the income to the possibility of spending it directly on services.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, that is a very important point. We have said the high of the UBI is depending which has to be covered by that. If we have services, for example, in a country, which give, for example, free possibilities for traveling, then you have, for example, for mobility, not so much to do. Or if you have something for energy, then also in that case, you don't need so much money from an UBI for energy. Yes, so I think all these different things which are in a member state necessary depends how this value of the UBI itself in money is necessary. We have said it is not replacing the welfare state, and the education and health and so on, and infrastructure is not covered by an UBI. That is in addition necessary in the state, depending how much in each member state is given by the governments at the moment, and not yet Europe-wide. That is then in that member state a different value, how much high the sum of money should be.
Okay, maybe I will leave the floor to Ali Mutlu, and if you can tell your full name so I don't misspell it, Ali, and from Turkey, I think, and to expand on the presentation that Klaus made on the results of the European Citizen Initiative, the countries, and I think you have some information for us.
Thank you very much. This is Ali Mutlu Köylüoğlu. I'm sorry I'm late because I didn't receive the link, but later on, dear uncle sent me the link and I'm here. The issue is, most probably, dear Klaus mentioned all the details about the campaign, but I'm not sure whether he mentioned about the survey. Dear Klaus, did you mention about the survey?
Yes, I have mentioned the survey, but not the content. What we have asked for should be in the survey done for the next rules.
No, not this survey. The survey regarding the public awareness about this mechanism, the ECI mechanism. Let me very briefly mention about this issue.
Okay.
During the ECI UBI campaign, this time we had problems because of the pandemic issues, let's say, and then we were like in a panic. And during one of the meetings, one of our friends, I guess he was Helvig Ferrer, he said that we can request a service from a professional company and try to understand or try to figure out how much the ECI mechanism is known by the people of the member states. And this company, he made the survey and he made the sampling, and it was really a professional service. And we figured out that 2.4% of the population, if I'm not mistaken, was aware of such a mechanism in the European area. My point is, this ECI mechanism is very important, not only for Europe, but also for the whole world. In case there's a success for UBI in the European area, In fact, European area is very interesting. There are about 27 countries, more than 20 different languages, and almost 500 million population. I mean, huge geography, huge number of languages, also local languages, etc., and also interaction with other countries, etc. My interest regarding ECI comes from there. I mean, if UBI is successful with this mechanism, then it might be a very important progress for the whole world. But the issue is, it is not known by the peoples of the European Union. I mean, only 2.4%. And this is not, I mean, these results are from a professional organization. That's why we can rely on them. This was one thing I would like to mention. I mean, ECI is a very important mechanism, but it's not that known by the people, by the masses. Second issue is, I think there should be some financial resources. For example, in this ECI campaign, the second ECI campaign for UBI, we spent almost zero. Can we say zero? Almost zero. So maybe all such campaigns should be supported by a crowdfunding mechanism, and it might be much more successful. To tell the truth, as I was late because I didn't see the link, I am not sure what dear Klaus mentioned. I'm very sure he mentioned all the details. So I better.
Ali, can you tell us the countries? So for everyone, European Citizen Initiative, for being considered by the EU institution, should collect 1 million signatures in at least 7 members, reaching a certain threshold in at least 7 member states. The UBI initiative collected 295,000 signatures, if I remember correctly. Can you tell us the countries, the member states where you reached the threshold? I think Italy was one of them.
If you allow me, I can share the related web page. May I?
Yes, you are already co-host, so you should have the right to share.
Okay, 1 second, dear friends. 1 second. Oh, where's the results? Okay, here's. This is the ECI UBI web page. You can see from here at the top. And the results are here. So 296,365 signatures were collected. But of course, this is, I mean, they are also checking once again, but this is almost correct. Let's say 300,000 signatures. Here are all countries. Oops. So, for example, if you start with Austria, threshold was 13,395. It was 28.5% of the threshold. But if you want to see the ones, Germany, 104%, you can see here. And Italy, 115%. Slovenia, 120%. Spain, 174%. The results are here. There should be a colored version of this too, but this gives you an idea, I guess. But let me tell you one thing. These thresholds are the thresholds for each country. In addition to this, you have to collect 1 million signatures, you know. And if you assume that the signatures are going to be collected uniformly, then it should be twice the threshold amount, almost twice the threshold amount. So if each country collects, let's say, 200% signatures, then the whole campaign is successful. Or big countries with bigger populations like Germany, France, Italy, Spain, they should collect more signatures. Am I clear?
Yes, yeah, it makes sense. It was just interesting to know where there was the best results for the campaign somehow, if best means reaching the target of what is an average national initiative, basically, just for us to know. Thank you, Ali. So for all of us in the meeting, do you have questions, comments on the unconditional basic income proposal in itself at the EU level? For what had been said, I just remind to everyone that the idea that we're trying to discuss and to agree with the Unconditional Basic Income Network is to launch together a lot of a number of European citizen initiatives as part of a collective effort to bring topics on the agenda of the European elections and potentially create also participation in the European elections through this participatory process. And so before giving the floor to Andrea Salimbeni, maybe we put some questions and then the UBI team replies. My first question is that in this idea of the package of different European citizen initiatives, carbon pricing, cannabis, UBI, etc., one thing that we were thinking is to have for all the European citizen initiative an additional request, which is to ask the EU institutions to have a sortition-based citizen assembly associated to that topic. So on one side, to bring the topic to the people more, but also to promote the use of citizen assemblies as a way to discuss the important topics of the European Union, so that, let's say, there is an ECI on cannabis that has the specific request on cannabis plus, and we want a European citizen initiative on this. UBI, all the requests of UBI, and we want this. So to consider adding this democratic advancement in the request of the ECI. So this is my question. Maybe we collect other questions and then the UBI team can reply all together. I see Andrea Salimbeni, who is also the coordinator of the European Citizen Initiative on Carbon Pricing and Stop Fossil Fuels. Vai, Andrea.
Thanks, Gila. Sorry, I could just join some minutes after the beginning. My first would be a question, actually. The question is about the statistics about the signature collection that you achieved. For example, it seems that you have just shown some data, and it seems that you get success in Mediterranean areas, mainly, more than in Central European and Scandinavian, probably. But this is, we have just partially seen. So if you got a statistic result, and if you also got feedback from who was not happy to contribute, if there was some feedback from citizens about why not to agree on the proposal. This is also important for us in the context of what we propose in our carbon pricing initiative or proposal anyway. The focus of our proposal, in addition of proposing a carbon pricing system to be global with a threshold of 50 euro per ton of CO2, and to end and phase out fossil fuels at 2026 and some others. The real focus is to dedicate the revenues of the CO2 pricing to ensure a lower fiscal impact on tax burden on labor, which can be strictly related to the target of ensuring a basic income, because of course the revenues of CO2 pricing could be used for both, for reducing taxes on lower incomes, but also to contribute to the fund that any country must have to ensure a basic income to people. So also to define the communication strategy in different countries, because I think it is crucial that we identify different communication strategies on the basis on what is the country approach. So it is somehow good that countries like Mediterranean countries are interested in that, because it's something on which we can count. It will be also important to understand how and why there can be an obstacle in other countries about proposing to use funds for ensuring a basic income, because just for your information, to date, most of the funds that the European Commission gets as a European trading system, so from the CO2 pricing, are used for renewable energy projects financing. So if we propose something different, we have to know what could be the reaction of different governments, and also we have to know on what countries to focus our attention and to ask a contribution. That is my question about if and how you could get evidence about the approach of different countries and citizens in different countries about the basic income.
Thank you, Andrea. Last question from Oleg Misikov. If you have questions, please, or comments, do it now, so that then we have some time with the UBI team to reply, because we need to close the meeting at 8. So Oleg Misikov.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I have a reflection. Actually, in Italy, we had quite a good opportunity to see in action. I mean, the reddito di cittadinanza, our citizen income, is not exactly the same as UBI. However, we could have quite a big, number of cases to analyze. What I think is, how about, this is a big vision, the UBI, almost, as we said, utopian, but in order to make it more involving, how about combining it with a sort of emancipation path for the individual? That is to give them the competences and the education and the knowledge required to be, successful in their own way, because somebody may want to work in an industry, somebody may want to work in the arts. So my idea, how about creating, for example, let me dream a little bit, like an AI algorithm that is able to combine the skills already available in that person with the aspirations of the person and the kind of life he or she wants to develop. And so provide together with the income also some kind of education tools which will guide the person in achieving his or her own dreams. So in this way, it would be a wider vision. So not just financial support, but actually taking the people by the hand and guide them towards the kind of life they would really like to give. And obviously also creating connections with those working areas they would like to eventually end up working in. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg, Michele Giannella, and Federico Dolce. And then we go to a round of closure with Klaus and the others. Michele.
Okay, can you see and hear me?
Very well.
Very well. So thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to meet you again. I have to leave in a few minutes, so I dare to drop just a little observation. I am one of those I represented Italy in the ECI for UBI. And luckily, I've been one of the 4 countries that at least reached the quorum. Although we have struggled a lot. As such, I can confirm that, yes, there are some resistances, some specific hostilities to the theme of UBI in some countries of Europe and certainly in Italy. But the real problem for the success of my ECI and other ECIs in general is an informational one. I can state this for sure because like 1-2 weeks after the end of signature collections, I took the pen and paper and compiled a sort of statistics of all the other ongoing ECIs to see how they were going how they were doing how much time had passed and if the proportion of signatures collected was matched with the quantity of time that passed. And I discovered that basically all the ECIs were performed very poorly. There was even an ECI, the one about the green roofs, maybe you have heard about it. 1 year has passed and they have collected less than 1,000th of the needed signatures. So the problem with ECIs, the elephant in the room with ECIs is an informational one. And the cure for this problem is to build before organizing the next ECIs, enough large network that can inform people in time for them to drop their signatures and pass the news to the others. In this sense, the partnership we have tied, of at least the connection we have tied so far with humans, are strategic, in my opinion, and we only have to proceed to take bolder steps in this direction. There are many political subjects in Italy that are favorable to basic income in general, but much work still has to be done with other media outlets in particular. The more we can connect with information agencies, the better results we will be seeing in the future. I have to leave now for another inconvenience, but that were my 2 cents. Hope I haven't bored you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michele Giannella, who coordinated the UBI campaign in Italy. So you won because you reached the threshold in Italy at least. So
Yeah.
at least,
Luckily, yes. Next time we have to win globally, and we will.
Exactly.
Ciao
Federico
a tutti.
Dolce.
Thank you.
Ciao Michele, grazie. Federico Dolce, that from the background seems from the M25. Welcome, Federico.
Hi everybody. Can you hear me? Quite good. Okay, thanks. I will proceed in English because everybody before me did, and it would be a shame for me not to follow that path. I would like to thank Klaus and Yurilke and Ali and everybody who talks before me because they basically told everybody that everything that matters. In the end, I would just have a brief talk about what we did in the past years. We as DiEM25, for the ones who don't know, is a transnational movement present in all the European countries, and we've been helping the fight for a universal basic income for quite some years now. But we did have a particular proposal, which was the universal basic dividend, because we were focused on the fact that if we found a different source of money for this proposal, that would have been more helpful in order, A, to not be a burden on the public money and the public balances, and B, to be more accepted by the general public in order not to have more taxes, because as Klaus and Ulrika already stated very rightfully, it is very important that this measure must not go to replace the public services. Therefore, our measure was, and is up until now, designed to get funded by somehow a European fund that would generate dividend, a fund that must be partially composed by the central bank, the European Central Bank bonds, and in parts paid by the share of the companies that actually are on the financial markets, a very small share. And we also explored the idea of like someone already said, I'm sorry, I don't recall the name, but a carbon tax or a Tobin tax or a so-called tech tax, like the big tech companies. Very soon we had to test this idea into the public, and many of you already said how this was the main problem, the informational one. We very soon found that the true problem wasn't, as we thought, about the funding, the measure, as much as the whole idea of having some universal measure that goes and gave free money to everybody. And this was the most cultural problem to overcome, and still is, actually, as we can testify in our country right now, when we are getting rid of a very small measure that, despite the name, has very little to do with a true UBI. But the arguments and the topics that are discussed are very interesting for us, because they will be the very arguments that they will throw at us the moment we will start talking about the UBI. And so we actually are focusing on the fact that we have to culturally prepare the public for something that we will have a very big impact on the labor market, on our life, on the job creation market, on the very enterprise market and enterprise life, but ultimately to how we intend to live our lives, like Klaus already said very rightly again. And this is the real challenge, even in a country like Italy, that is considerable as a southern country that would be more open to the idea of having a welfare system that gives you money unconditionally, because we are struggling economically more than the Northern Europe country, for example. But as we can see from the German results, it's not as much as an economic problem as an idea of life. The fact that you are not your job, you are not destined to suffer for the whole of your life in order to survive, but you have the right to do with your life what you desire. That is the main challenge. That is the one that we have to be prepared to openly discuss publicly. And we have the number, we have the opinion and studies from the economic and from the academics, not only economic, but also social field and political field. But that's the main issue, ultimately. And this is where our next battle will be in my opinion at least, focused. Thanks again, because you did a tremendous job up until now.
Thank you, Federico. It's also a cultural shift, what we are talking, I guess. So we don't have much time, but I want to give the opportunity to the UBI network to react to the many questions and comments that we made. Maybe this is only the first step of a potential shared process, but maybe if you have some quick replies on the Mediterranean versus rest of Europe issue, on this cultural, political, economical analysis, and on the proposal of associating the ECI on UBI with a European Citizen Assembly on the topic as a way to hold together different ECIs methodologically and for increasing the democratization of the European Union as such at the end. Maybe if one of you can reply, or let's really have 5 minutes, no more than that. We will have other meetings and stuff, and Klaus will share with us the paper that was presented, so we can also comment on that, I guess, between now and the 7th of December. So maybe UBI team, you choose who speaks.
Perhaps one comment from my side. We had get after our ECI from all national coordinators a paper, what they are seeing, what was good, what was not so good, and so on. And we want to make, before starting again, an evaluation of all these points that we avoid some mistakes. And on the contrary, give much more push for that things which were good. For example, we got in contact with MEPs in Parliament, get support from there, yes, and we in our national countries we made an attempt, and I will perhaps a very short message on the 7th of December, because in Austria we had already the possibility to discuss in the government, in the parliament, and so on, and how we proceed there with our ideas. And certainly I find it very well if we combine different ECIs to support each other. So it was a short point because time is running. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Klaus. Any other comment? Maybe Ulrike, Ali, Angel, Angel, I hope you can pronounce it correctly. If you have any quick reaction to the points that were raised during the meeting, otherwise we agree on the next steps and we keep the conversation going. I see Angel moving. Are you moving toward the microphone or just stretching your back?
Just a comment. In order to make a ECI successful, you need to form national teams, because in our ECI we were few people. In some countries we managed to form these teams, for example in Spain, in Italy, in Austria, in Germany. But in most countries there were really few people. In some countries only the coordinator, only one people. So it's very important to form these national teams. And secondly, I think our most important difficulty was to not be able to come out of the narrow circle of activists. Our messages, our ECI messages, didn't get the public, the general public, because we didn't get the help of the media or the big organization or the internet influencers. So we weren't able to go out of the narrow circle of activists. No. So this is important to get the help of big organizations or some media to access the general public.
Thank you, Angel. for those of you who is the first EUMANS meeting, we also discussed a lot, and that's why we launched the Sign Day joint initiative among ECI's promoters 2 years ago. One thing that I think it's a problem is that the ECI is a bit of a weak instrument, so it's not binding, it's not related to a referendum, so the politicization and the fight is a bit lower than other instruments. And so for the media, for example, it's very easy to ignore a European citizen initiative because there is not blood there somehow. Pass me the very visual image. There is not the blood of a referendum that can change the thing. So one of the reasons why we are working on this idea of more European citizen initiatives connected and launched at the same time is also to show the strength of a citizens' wave that want a better European Union, basically. And we hope, I mean, and this meeting is part of a process that connecting more topics can raise the level of the fight somehow, and the attention. That's one of the ideas. Also, if we try to consider also the activation of electoral participation for the promoters of European citizen initiatives. So we become more dangerous, and I mean dangerous in a non-violent way, but still dangerous. I see Paula Stringa, and then we really need to close the meeting, or unless I leave you here and I go, but I have another meeting to attend and I can't be in two places at the same time.
Sì,
Vai, Paola.
è proprio una battuta. C'è stato un passaggio prima che mi è piaciuto tanto, che ha fatto Klaus, quando ha detto che il reddito di base universale a livello europeo aiuterebbe le donne vittime di violenza. Domani è la giornata internazionale a difesa delle donne vittime di violenza. Io ho fatto un corso quest'anno della Regione Piemonte per una lista per spese legali. Io sono un avvocato quindi per tutte le donne, perché siano invogliate a fare denuncia e uscire da questa situazione. Però si chiede a queste donne di avere sempre un prima e un dopo, con uno spartiacque che è la denuncia, la querela, l'allontanamento. C'è da dire che se ci fosse davvero un reddito base universale, verrebbe meno tutto quel discorso di violenza economica, e quindi questo spartiacque secondo me sarebbe molto più labile. Cioè molto più, tante donne non si allontanano perché non hanno una rete di sostegno e dicono sì, ma poi di cosa vivo, di cosa campo. Invece un sostegno di questo genere sarebbe sicuramente un aiuto in più, e quindi trovo che sia un'iniziativa molto concreta e molto attualissima, visto qual è il tema della giornata di domani. Tutto qui, grazie.
Thank you, Paola. You know that you're raising a topic that is very dear to my heart. So I didn't think about the coincidence of the dates, because we could have also kind of connected the meeting more clearly to another way to focus on this day. And I think in general, the point that you raised help us to conclude this meeting on the idea that we want to try to create this popular program for the European elections, also to show how issues are interconnected. So the economical, the ecological struggle, the civil rights struggle, everything is intertwined. So I think the more we discuss topics and we connect them and we find how people that are in need can be supported, empowered, it's super important, and this angle that you raised is very significant. So next step, on the 6th of December, the UBI network will have their meetings where we will be guests as humans to keep the conversation going. But maybe I ask Klaus if we can publish the draft of the paper that you presented in our community, so that we can maybe integrate some of the thoughts that we have, some of the doubts, and create a process. I want also to point on what Angel said on the importance of the networks. and to go beyond the network of activists. I believe maybe we can have a training or something in the next weeks on this. Basically, this thing that Paula spotted is exactly the point. How we make an initiative relevant beyond those that believe in that specific goal. How we show that carbon pricing, for example, is important not only for the environmentalist, how UBI is not only important for the UBIist, and et cetera, but how a reform can impact more people, because in this process of building the networks and the committees or existing committees of European citizen initiatives, we really need to show that is relevant for a lot of people and not just the promoters of the initiatives. So I think tonight was a very good first step in this direction. We will circulate the document of the Unconditional Basic Income Network for comments and suggestions and integrations. And we will also see if we can have more humans attending the meeting on the 7th of December, organized by the UBI network. But thanks very much for everyone who participated tonight. Thanks to Sophia and Charles that were our interpreters for the night, and that allows us to have meetings at least in 2 languages. And see you soon. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye, thank you.